The hate army troll.
It's the hate army, bro.
The hate army, that guy.
Hate army.
Hate army general. Good vibes to the hate army.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out for hate.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out for hate.
Alrighty, everyone. Good morning. Today is Sunday, the 20th of August, 2023. I'm DSP. And, man, have the plans changed for what we were going to be doing this weekend. I mean, originally, I was going to try to play the Mortal Kombat 1 beta all weekend long. Per talking with you guys over the last week, we essentially decided that maybe we shouldn't play it all weekend, but we should still do a Street Fighter 6 community night tonight, because this is probably going to be the last opportunity to do a community lobby for a while. And I agree. So we were going to do 3 streams of the Mortal Kombat 1 beta. And yesterday I came back from my day off, full speed ahead, ready to hit the ground running with MK1. And, wow. I mean, that's all I really have to say. I was kind of shocked at how this beta performs and how they expect that this beta is going to sell games, except for the fact that after I played it and was honest with my audience, I was met with a big backlash, not necessarily of criticism, but of confusion, because everyone started to tell me that I'm the only person criticizing the beta. Oh, really? Well, maybe that's a good thing, because maybe people actually need to start listening to someone who doesn't have a vested interest in having a game be successful. Really. Because at this point, it's starting to get pretty annoying. Alright? Basically, I'm being honest about my experience with this beta, factually referencing things that are undisputable about it. Okay? So why is it that if these things are facts, that it seems like people in the FGC are kissing the beta's butt and saying it's absolutely amazing and yada, yada, yada? Why do you think? I mean, really, do we really have to go down this road again for the millionth time? Alright? I am not part of the FGC. I will repeat that. I am not part of the fighting game community. I don't attend tournaments. I don't interact with them. I have nothing to do with them. I'm an outsider. By calculation. Okay? I very well could have been a part of the fighting game community, but during the era of Street Fighter 4, I saw the writing on the wall, and I distanced myself from them on purpose. Alright? This has allowed me to be an independent. This has allowed me to be vocal about things that I see going on from a unique perspective that they will never give you. You have to understand something about people in the fighting game community, okay? For the most part, they are incredibly dependent on new fighting games becoming popular, getting views, and being successful. They need those 3 things. If they don't get those 3 components, they have nothing to do. Do you get it? If someone out there is known to be a guy in the fighting game community or a gal in the fighting game community who plays them, goes to tournaments, covers them, does tutorial videos, does grind sessions, has people come and support them because of that. Now, what if the game sucks? Well, now no one cares. So now what do you do? Right? This, case in point, is exactly what happened with Street Fighter V. Okay? Street Fighter V was a terrible game. I don't care what anyone wants to say and argue with me. Street Fighter V was a terrible fighting game. It was one of, if not arguably, the worst numbered Street Fighter installment ever created. From the launch to the end of its life cycle, it was not good. It got better, but it was not good. Why did it take until the release of Street Fighter 6 for pro players to finally come out and publicly admit it? 7 years. They lied to everyone and claimed that the game was good. Oh, it's so good. Oh, this and that. Look at this good thing. Look at this thing. And then Street Fighter 6 comes out. Oh, you know what? Admittedly, Street Fighter 5 was bad. Yeah, it was a bad game. Here, Wait, where were you for 7 years? But we're supposed to trust these people, right? When it comes to, like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know how people can still trust people in the FGC who are literally talking head advertisements for everything in the FGC. I just don't get it. You shouldn't be listening to those people who always say everything is good. You should be listening to those who have absolutely no possibility of benefit by being honest with you. It doesn't matter to me if Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat 1 or Tekken 8 are good or bad. I have enough content to cover for you guys no matter what. Really, if Street Fighter 6 was terrible, I'd still have plenty of stuff to do. If Mortal Kombat 1 ends up being awful, I still have plenty of stuff to do. That's because I'm a variety creator. I don't rely on just fighting games. So I can tell you like it is per my own perspective, which is going to be very different from someone who's inside that FGC bubble, who relies on every game to be hype and positive and great and money rolling in because they're so good. You understand? So when I'm sitting here playing the MK1 beta and I'm reading stuff off the screen that outright is stating that the connections are bad, and people are, oh, no one else is saying what Phil is saying. Yeah, because they're all kissing the game's butt, and you're so ignorant to how this works. That somehow 7 years of being lied to about Street Fighter V wasn't enough for you to realize that there are people out there who are not looking out for your best interests. They are just in it for this, because without this, there's no reason for them to exist. Do you understand? Do you get it? I don't know why people don't. All right? I just don't get it. All right? So, now that that has been said, all right, allow me to explain what happened yesterday when I was playing Mortal Kombat 1, why I'm not playing it again today, and the ridiculous backlash that I got overnight in comments and people all over the Phil's just salty and Phil's not good and blah, blah, blah. That's the most moronic thing I've ever heard in my life. Really. I have factual evidence of the things I'm saying on camera, and you're going to tell me that what I'm saying is invalid because it's not in line with the FGC heads who are kissing the game's butt? Man, you are stupid. That's all I have to say about that. You have to be a dunce. You have to be a gullible moron to believe what you've been told when for 7 years they said the same thing about Street Fighter V, and now all those players have come out and admitted Street Fighter V sucked. Okay? So, let's get down to brass tacks, as they say. Mortal Kombat 1's beta is much more limited than the Street Fighter 6 beta. Only 6 characters available, while Street Fighter 6 had 8, correct? Although admittedly, I will say this, it's kind of similar in that a lot of the characters play a little bit the same, while in the Street Fighter 6 beta, it also was kind of the same, I would say, except for Kimberly. You know, having Ryu, Ken, and Luke was a little bit of an overkill for the characters that they had in that beta because they were all so similar, right? It's weird that in the Street Fighter 6 beta, there were no oddball characters, like no Blanka, no Honda, no Zangief. And in the Mortal Kombat 6 beta, Mortal Kombat 1 beta is kind of the same, where it's like, okay, Liu Kang, okay, Sub-Zero. It's like, wait a minute, these are all like the typical characters, right? So it's a little weird that they have kind of the typical cast and not maybe some of the oddball characters that would play completely different to showcase the variety of the game. I don't get that. I feel like they should have done that, and they didn't. So, right from the get-go, before we even mention a single thing about the gameplay elements of Mortal Kombat 1, we will factually observe something that is absolutely indisputable. Are you ready for this? The online performance of the Mortal Kombat 1 beta is inferior to Street Fighter 6 in every conceivable way. Okay? If you just look at beta to beta, all right? Compare just betas. We're not comparing the final version of Street Fighter 6 that came out in June. We're comparing the beta of Street Fighter 6 to the beta of Mortal Kombat 1. Let's compare apples to apples. Number 1, less characters. Okay? Indisputable. Number 2, no lobby system whatsoever. You're just going to casual matches or you're playing in ladder. That's it. There is no lobby system to mess around and see a social aspect. There's no opportunity for you to sit down at a cabinet and practice. None of that exists. It's just you're playing online or you're playing against AI. That's it. Okay? That's 2 shortcomings right there. Number 3, the online connections are far inferior in quality. all right? When I was playing the Street Fighter 6 beta, all right? First of all, you have to understand those betas were selective. They were essentially, you had to get a code to play the Street Fighter 6 betas. It wasn't open, and it wasn't anyone can do it. It was just, you have to get a code. So the player base was significantly smaller than likely what the Mortal Kombat 1 beta is right now. Mortal Kombat 1 beta is available if you bought the game already, if you pre-ordered it. Now, tons of people are going to buy this game on PlayStation. I bought it on PS5. That will be the biggest player base. So undoubtedly more people are able to get this beta than were the people who were specially selected to get a code for the Street Fighter 6 beta. But if you compare apples to apples, all right, in the Street Fighter 6 beta, I got very good connections, all right? Average probably anywhere from 30 to 40 millisecond connections. Yes, there were definitely connections that were much worse than that, but there were also connections that were better than that. In general, when I told you when I played those Street Fighter 6 betas, I was blown away at how good the online connectivity was. It was the best netcode I had ever seen in a competitive fighting game. Okay? With the Mortal Kombat 1 beta yesterday, I played it online for a little bit over 4 hours. It was, the ladder I played for like an hour because I played with 3 or 4 characters. And then I went online for playing for about 4 hours. The best connection I got the entire day, which was, if you look, about 60 matches I played over the course of the day. The entire day, the best connection was around 60 milliseconds. The best connection was 60 milliseconds, okay? There was a few I had that were in the 70s, but on average, most of the connections I got were between 80 to 100, some were up to 200 milliseconds. That is unacceptable and borderline unplayable for a competitive fighting game. Now you might say, well, I don't get it because that was always the case for fighting games like, 5-10 years ago. Yeah, you just said it. That was the case for fighting games 5-10 years ago, not 2023. And before people start making excuses, I live in the Seattle area. The Seattle, Washington area is a gaming hotbed for this United States country. There's a ton of gamers in this area who are going to be buying and playing Mortal Kombat and are in this beta. There's no excuse that the netcode is that bad for this beta. Not when I just played a beta back in the fall and winter for Street Fighter 6 with the same player base, and it was much better. So just comparing, apples to apples comparison, the connections for Street Fighter 6 were the best I've ever experienced. The connections for Mortal Kombat 1 are essentially more of the same laggy crap. They are nowhere near as good as what you would expect when you just had your major competitor come out and create the new level of standard for what you would want in a competitive fighting game. Okay? I'm just saying, and you could disagree with me, but I'm just telling you, that's factual. You can't disprove at all what I'm saying because it's factually recorded. Do you understand? It's factually recorded. Okay? So, that being said, now let's move on from just the online connectivity and features, and let's move into the core gameplay mechanics of Mortal Kombat 1. Okay? First of all, if you remember, back in Mortal Kombat 11, they redesigned the game from the ground up. They were essentially looking for this game to play more like Street Fighter. So they added in key elements like wake-up reversals with invincibility that would burn meter in order to use, and ways to essentially get out of, say, rush down or quarter mix-ups so that you would have a way to break out. Previously, there really was no actual way to break out of any kind of this stuff in Mortal Kombat. It was like, if you get mixed up or locked down in the corner, that's the end of the game. You're done. So they changed it to play more like Street Fighter. They had the blocking mechanics change, okay? Like, they literally redesigned Mortal Kombat 11 to be more competitive, okay? In Mortal Kombat 1, they took all of that and threw it all away. Huh? So you just claimed you improved your game by changing all of it and have it play different, and now in the next one, back to the drawing board, throw it all away. Huh? What? So what's the deal? Did you really screw up with Mortal Kombat 11 and you're admitting that it was bad? Or are you saying that you just wanted to go back to basics? I'm confused because everyone had to learn these new mechanics for your last game, and now you've completely just tossed them, which makes me very baffled in my head. Okay? So since all those elements are gone now, when it comes down to it, it looks like Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be based around 2 critical elements, at least in this early stage. Keep in mind, the meta is not established yet. The beta just came out. But here's what it looks like. All right? Number 1, high-low mix-ups, which have always been a major part of the modern Mortal Kombat. Ever since Mortal Kombat 9 came out, high-low mix-ups were a critical part, where essentially you're trying to fool someone to block the wrong way, and then you get a combo because of it. Hopefully that combo will lead to, say, a juggle combo, which will be big damage, and push the enemy to the corner, where now they have less options to escape. Yet another high-low mix-up, wash, rinse, and repeat. It's been like this for many iterations of Mortal Kombat. So that's not anything special, in my opinion, okay? But if then you're talking about the new mechanic, that's the new cameo system, right? And the cameo system, to me, seems like in some cases it's incredibly useful, and in other cases it seems like they just didn't really test it. Because I'll give you an example, okay? Kano. He's one of the cameos in this beta, and he's got 3 moves: eye laser, throwing knives, and his ball attack, okay? Throwing knives seems pretty darn good. You can actually have the throwing knives come out and time them, so that if you're in the middle of an attack or a rush down, and all of a sudden the enemy thinks, okay, they're done, the knives will start hitting them. And now that could lead to a mix-up where, oh, I thought that the enemy was done attacking, but now it hits me, and now they can combo me after as like a punish. Or the knives can extend a combo, where someone's hitting you, and all of a sudden the knives start connecting, and then they can dash up and they can continue their combo. So that seems pretty neat in my opinion, okay? But then you look at something like the eye laser, all right? The eye laser seems to be one of the worst things in the game, because get this, when you activate the eye laser cameo, your character freezes in place and cannot do anything. Has to stand next to Kano, like, hey buddy, what's going on? Kind of hunch over while Kano fires this eye laser full screen, and then you're stuck until the animation's done. So in one case, you can activate the animation, okay? And now you can keep attacking, and it's a complete mix-up or combo extender. In the other case, the entire game has to stop while Kano comes out and does the eye beam. How is that of any use, right? And what this reminds me of, honestly, is back in the day, because by the way, a lot of people think cameos are new, right? They are not new whatsoever. They are incredibly ancient, all right? These assist attacks actually started in the Versus series of fighting games. Back in the day, you had games like X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, etc. So it actually started off in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, where you could have one of your teammates come out as an assist and help you. Now, honestly, in that game, they were pretty worthless, all right? Then when Marvel vs. Capcom came out, they had a specific list of assist-only fighters that you could use, but they were limited in the amount of use that you could use them. Some of them were incredibly useful, like Colossus or Psylocke from the X-Men would come out with super armor properties and go across the entire screen. And if they hit the enemy, they would start juggling them across the screen, which then allowed you to go and do a free combo on them or whatever, okay? However, when you activated them, usually these assists came out very quickly. And yes, there was like a pause where, like, so say Wolverine would go ding ding with his claws and the assist would come out, but then he'd immediately be able to move again. So it wasn't like the whole game froze. It was like a very small interruption, and then immediately you're back to the action. Okay? Now, in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, this is where kind of assists hit their stride. The assist characters were not dedicated assists, they were actually your other teammates, and they came out instantly. In fact, they didn't interrupt the gameplay at all. You could continue to freely move as much as you wanted while an assist character would come out. So, for example, Cyclops would come out and do his uppercut move, which is like a Shoryuken in Street Fighter, and it would catch the opponent and juggle them, and then you could do a big combo based off of it. And it would get people to stop rushing you down because you would blast through their rush down and knock them back. Captain Commando would come out and do this ginormous column of energy that would go up vertically and cover the whole screen from top to bottom, creating a wall they couldn't pass. So, these assists have been out for a very, very long time. But in each game, they evolve to be a little different and a little better. In Mortal Kombat 1, it seems like the assists are all over the place. For example, Sonya, she has one where she does her horizontal aerial punch. And if you're someone who's doing an air combo, oh, so you juggle someone, then she hits them, extends the combo. Great. But then some of her other moves are terrible. Same thing with Kano. It seems like even though each assist character or cameo has 3 or more of these uses, some of them are worthless. Like, they didn't even think about it. Like, again, that eye laser with Kano, I have no idea how you're supposed to use that when you freeze in place when he uses it. It's a waste of time. If you get it, you're screwed yourself. Oops, I did it by accident. Well, guess what? Now you're frozen. You can't do anything, right? So just from the get-go, a lot of these cameos don't seem well designed or tested. It seems like they had an idea what they wanted, and some of them work really well, and others are just a complete waste. So why on earth are they even in there like that, right? The one that kind of baffled me, and I'm sure people will actually find uses for it. Jax freaking punches the ground, and he hits everyone. He hits you too. And there were times that I was fighting people, they called out their own Jax assist, and Jax killed them. And I won the round because they killed themselves. And they were like, huh? It's weird. So, if anything, okay, the one new thing in this game is these cameos, and they will absolutely change the face of how this game will be played. I mean, it's undoubted. There's never been in Mortal Kombat before, and so this will be, I almost get the feeling Mortal Kombat 1, when it gets down to it, will be cameo fighter. It's going to all be based on cameo selection and cameo utilization paired with your gameplay mechanics. Like, for example, I could see a character like Garrus, who has the sand time manipulation. Dude, I can see him, like, locking you down with his hit string, and all of a sudden a cameo comes out and mixes you up, and now you don't know what to do, and boom, now you get juggled and you're done. Like, I could totally see this kind of stuff happening in the meta of the game, and that's going to be the game, right? So they went from a game where in Mortal Kombat 11, they were trying to change this to be like Street Fighter, okay? They threw out all of those mechanics. They went back to basics and made the game way more basic than it had been, but then they added in a whole new gameplay mechanic that's going to essentially make the game all about these cameos. So if you're okay with an entire game being based around assists, good, but understand that looks like that's going to be the meta. Like, I think these characters will actually control the actual gameplay elements, which I don't know if that's what people are looking for in a competitive fighting game in 2023. An entire game based off of these cameos? I don't know. But it seems like that's what they're heading for. Okay? Now, outside of that, we got to talk about how this game plays and feels. Because after having played Street Fighter 6 in the beta twice, and then, of course, ever since June when it came out, man, this game feels incredibly slow. Like, it feels like you are playing in a tub of putty. Like, you went out there to fight and someone poured an entire bottle of maple syrup on your body. You just feel clunky. You feel like everything is too slow to come out. The animations are too much for anything to be effective. It feels just like it is. And quite frankly, I don't know if that's a case of the fact that the online play is so laggy, or if that's just the game itself. Because honestly, even when I was playing the towers, I still kind of felt like it was sluggish. Like, just moving around, walking and dashing feels slower than Street Fighter 6 by a mile. All right? The jumping, oh my god. All right? Now, jumping has always been weird in Mortal Kombat. But you would think, again, they're trying to get more competitive. They're trying to get more like Street Fighter, correct? No. You jump in this game, it's like you're on the moon. Like, you are like you got moon shoes and you propelled yourself 14 feet into the air and you're doing this weird floaty jump. And the aerial attacks are also very, very weird. Okay? Where they're kind of wonky. A lot of these jumping attacks have weird hitboxes. Like, you'll be jumping and try to do a punch, and the punch is straight, but it hits down here. Or you try to jump, and one thing you've always done in Mortal Kombat is you jump and you turn in midair and you punch backwards for a cross-up. But even the cross-up animations don't really look right in this game. They look weird. Like, it doesn't look like there is even a cross-up animation. It's just like he's punching this way, but yet it hits backwards. There's a couple times with Liu Kang. I was just trying to jump and punch, and Liu Kang jumped over the opponent and did aerial fireballs in the wrong direction off the screen. The guy's behind you. Why is the game allowing you to throw fireballs in the wrong direction in the middle of the air? There's nothing over there. What the hell is going on? I don't know, but it happened when I played. I was scratching my head as much as everyone else watching were like, what is going on? So just in general, the aerial combat is weird. They added something new. All right? The new thing is there's basically almost like dial combos in the air. So if you land an aerial hit, that's a light, like square, or what is it, left punch, light punch, forward punch, whatever it's called in this game. If that lands, you can now usually do like 1, 2, 3 in the air. That's old school shit. That's from the Versus series. Again, I hate to go back to old games from the 90s. The dial-a-combo thing is literally from the Versus series, okay? Where if you hit one, you could dial 3 or 4 hits in after that initial hit, okay? But here's the difference. In the Versus series, everything has physics that makes sense. If you're in the air and you start hitting, you're still falling. In Mortal Kombat 1, if you hit someone in the air with a punch and you keep pressing buttons, you keep floating. What happened? Did you get a rocket in your ass? Did you fart and then propel yourself higher up to keep punching? It doesn't even make sense. It looks weird as shit. And so what this game is intending you to do is getting a couple hits to launch. Then you jump in the air and you get 2 or 3 more dial-a-combo hits in the air that keep floating. And then you can even cancel into like an aerial special move to keep the combo going. It's bizarre. It's fucking weird. Now, no one's going to get this reference, okay? I'm not kidding you. There was a fighting game back in the original Xbox, early 2000s. It was an X-Men fighting game, and it played just like that. That anytime you jumped and hit someone in the air, you could do these crazy aerial juggle combos, and it was stupid. It looked terrible. It was clunky. That's how this looks. It looks like clunky air juggle shit. And I'm like, this is what they intended? Really? So ultimately, what you're looking for is on the ground, you get a mix-up, high-low mix-up, so the person blocks wrong. You somehow launch the character. You're in the air, you do your weird air juggle. But as you're doing your weird air juggle, you also have your cameo coming out, throwing projectiles or something, or doing aerial punches, so it extends the combo. You dash up, you continue the combo on the ground, and eventually you get to the finisher for giant damage. This is literally what every character is going to do in the game. Johnny Cage, Sub-Zero, even Liu Kang, they all have it. They all have this strategy. And that seems like that will be what the meta is. The problem, yeah, you might be right. It might be X-Men Mutant Academy. Lady, you might have hit it on the head. I think it might have been X-Men Mutant Academy, the game that I'm talking about. Yes. So, or maybe X-Men Next Dimension, maybe it was that too. I don't remember. But Mutant Academy sounds familiar. It might have been X-Men Mutant Academy. That sounds very familiar to me. Anyway, so ultimately, the game ends up being very honestly, I think it's unintentionally basic. While Street Fighter 6 took the series in a brand new direction, adding in so many complex elements. Just on one hand, drive impact or the drive impact kind of counter gameplay, parrying and perfect parrying gameplay, drive rush moves plus drive rush cancels, okay? Drive reversals. 5 new gameplay elements added to Street Fighter 6, and then you've got all your regular Street Fighter gameplay. You got your spacing, your footsies, your mix-ups, your unblockables, your throw tick traps. You've got all of these elements in Street Fighter 6. Literally right now, Mortal Kombat 1 is high-low mix-up, combo into cameo, aerial juggle. 3. I counted 10 for Street Fighter 6 off the top of my head, 3 for Mortal Kombat 1. And everything feels floaty and imprecise and slow and sluggish. Okay? Now, admittedly, everything I just described could be said, well, that's just personal preference. You're right. But if we're going facts, okay? The Mortal Kombat 1 beta has way less content than the Street Fighter 6 beta did, and the connections are far worse. So on factual basis, objective basis, this beta is underwhelming compared to Street Fighter 6, and Street Fighter 6's beta came out last fall. They had a year to come out with a beta that was at least on par. They failed miserably. Miserably. The connections are ridiculously bad. To give you some perspective here, Sub-Zero, okay, has 2 very interesting mix-up moves. One is the slide, the ice slide, which he's had since Mortal Kombat, 2? 1? He might have even been in Mortal Kombat 1. I can't remember. Okay? And he's got an overhead attack, which is just, he has a big ice hammer, and he hits you, and it's an overhead. You can't block it low. You have to block it high. Okay? I'm not kidding you. For the vast majority of times I faced Sub-Zero, it was literally impossible to block the mix-up. He could either do ice slide or the overhead, and when you saw it, you would try to adjust your block, and you would get hit anyway. And there was nothing you could do about it. You had to already be pre-establishing blocking the right area to block those on reaction. You couldn't block them on reaction. You had to already be doing it. because the connections are so bad online. For a game that's so simplistic and so slow moving, again, your character's slow. Your character feels like they're covered in taffy, okay? You need to have a good connection or else you can't react to anything. You just can't react to anything. It's a lot of lucky guesses over and over. Of, oh, I'll just go for overhead. Oh, okay, well, he blocked it. Now I'm screwed because he's going to punish it. All right, I'll go for the sweep. Ah, I got him with the sweep. Let's go again. Ah, I got him with the sweep again. I'll do throw instead. Haha, got him. Now I'll do the overhead. Ha, he didn't block the overhead. I win the round. Well, wait a minute. I mean, I get it, but you're supposed to be able to react to that stuff. That's the whole point. In Street Fighter, there's options, tons of options to answer for that kind of stuff, right? In this game, there's not. It's you need to see it and be able to counter it, and you can't, all right? Now, some people have already said, well, there's other things in the game. For example, there's certain special moves that if you use what they call meter burn, so you use your super meter in order to enable the move will have some invincibility or super armor, and it'll blow through stuff. That's fine, but it didn't explain it. You don't know what moves have it. There's no practice mode to practice that. You can't even practice it on the computer because the computer isn't always going to be attacking you. So how do you know? You don't. You're just fucking around. And, you know, it's essentially what it comes down to it is this beta is a poor showing. This beta would have been great if Street Fighter 6 didn't exist. It's that simple. If Street Fighter 6 had not come out so strong in the last year, you might have said this Mortal Kombat 1 beta was passable. But when your direct competitor in the last year has done best-in-class online connectivity, tons of new complex gameplay mechanics, a fast-moving game with great graphics. I mean, of anything, the one thing that maybe you can argue Mortal Kombat 1 hangs in Street Fighter 6 with is the graphics. Okay, maybe it looks good. Personally, I still like Street Fighter 6 better. I think the graphics of Street Fighter 6 are better. But you could disagree, and that's okay. That's a personal preference. I'm not going to argue and say the game looks bad. It doesn't look bad. But outside of that, I think literally everything else is superior in Street Fighter 6. If you check off every box, more characters in the beta, better connections in the beta, faster moving characters, better and more complex gameplay mechanics, things that you can actually react to. I can keep checking the boxes, you know? And the other sad fact is that you had to buy the game to play this beta. This is not a beta. Ladies and gentlemen, Mortal Kombat 1 comes out in less than 1 month. Less than a month. Street Fighter 6 had several betas leading up to its release. They were actually able to take the data they got from those betas to tweak the game and make it even better at release. Do you really think they're doing that with Mortal Kombat 1? There's less than a month until release. What are they going to change? Nothing. It's bullshit. It's not a beta. What it is buy the game now to lock into the purchase and then play the game early for 1 weekend. That's what this is. This is not a real beta. This is a foolish attempt to get extra people to buy and create free hype for their game less than a month before. Hopefully you'll watch the FGC hype monsters play the game early and then you'll go buy the game too. That's exactly what this is. This is not any attempt to have a legit beta experience for anyone. So, overall, after having played the Mortal Kombat 1 beta, yeah, I'm very disappointed. This game has a ton of shortcomings compared to Street Fighter 6. And again, you might, oh, that's not a fair comparison. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. In a competitive market, you can't ignore your competition and claim to be something different, all right? If you own a sandwich shop, you have to compete with the other sandwich shops in your area. If you own a car wash, you have to compete with the other car washes. If you're a major fighting game, you have to compete with the other fighting games. And Mortal Kombat 1 at this point doesn't look like it's very well competing with Street Fighter 6 at all. I think it's failed in every aspect. It just seems like an inferior game. It's slower paced. It has less to it. It's not as fun to play. The online connections are worse. And overall, after having played it for 5 hours yesterday, I was bored. Tell me a different experience you've ever seen. When I played the Street Fighter 6 beta, I played it the entire weekend. And I was like, dude, I'm sad that we ran out of time to play it. I like it so much. I wish that it continued. I want to play it more. I literally played this for 5 hours yesterday. I don't want to play it anymore. until the final game comes out and has the entire cast of characters. Then maybe, because then what I could do is play with other characters that play very differently. I don't just want to play a character that's high-low mix-up and cameo cancel or combo into a cameo, right? I want to see what else the game has to offer. You know, a lot of the characters that I liked in the last one aren't in this one yet, right? So I'll wait, and when the final game comes out, absolutely, I'm going to play with this big cat. The cat, isn't it 24 characters? So only 1/4 of the cast is even available in the beta, and quite frankly, some of the characters like Katana seem to be awful. Katana has no major high-low mix-up and no big combos. It's just get lucky with a fan and then do a combo after, or do a cameo mix-up setup. It just doesn't seem very good compared to the other characters. So I'm curious, will there be entire characters based, the only way that they can be viable is by having cameos help and assist them? It very well may be. I'm not sure. But from what I've seen, I'm just not pleased at all. I bought the game on the premise of I'm going to play this early and enjoy it, and it's completely inferior to Street Fighter 6 in every conceivable way so far. All right? Now, when this game comes out in September, I'm still going to play it, all right? I am. And you got to understand something. This game is not only online multiplayer, thankfully, right? Let's be honest. Mortal Kombat and Netherrealm games in general, including Injustice and stuff, always have great single-player content. One of the major features and focuses of Mortal Kombat 1 will be the story. The story of Liu Kang becoming the god of the realm and rebooting everything, and how everyone's changed in their characters, and who's good and who's bad and who's rebel, because you're going to have characters who maybe used to be good and they're on the side of evil now, and vice versa. But who is evil? Maybe Liu Kang's evil. We don't even know yet because the story's not out yet, right? So I'm fascinated by what the story will be. I really am. I always enjoy the story of every Netherrealm game. It's the first thing I do on purpose. I want to play through the story within the first 1 to 2 days I have the game, because I like their story mode so much. Now, how long will the story mode be? I don't know. I think the shortest one ever was 5 hours, but there was one that was 8 hours. So it could very well be 2-3 streams to get through the story of Mortal Kombat 1. Depends on how much they've put into it, okay? Mortal Kombat also has always typically had a really good single-player content mode called the Crypt. However, sorry, what I'm doing is I'm decompressing my back right now. However, they have already come out and said they are not going to have a Crypt in this one. But they did claim there will be significant single-player content. So does that mean they've massively extended the story mode? If the story mode's like 12 to 15 hours, dude, I'd be very happy. I'd be like, wow, they really did a great job. But if the story mode's only 5 hours long, and they took out the Crypt and they didn't add anything to replace it, that's going to piss me off. For those who don't know, the way the Crypt used to work, there was always a completely different mode for single-player players, where you'd run through this exploration world, and you'd solve puzzles, you'd fight enemies, you'd do challenges, and it basically added in a ton of gameplay. I remember, I think the Crypt in Mortal Kombat 11, wasn't it like pretty long, right? Every Mortal Kombat has had it. All 3, 9, 10, and 11 had it and added a bunch of content into the game. I thought it was hilarious and fun. It was some of the most interesting content I did in Mortal Kombat. So if that's gone, I hope there's a replacement, or I hope the story is longer. Because I'm going to be honest, if this game has a short story and the whole game plays online like what I just saw in the beta, this game's a fucking ripoff. Like, it is nowhere near the value of Street Fighter 6, but they're charging more. Street Fighter 6 is $60, this game's $70. So, I don't know. This really pisses me off. I'm very disappointed at this point at what I've seen. And here I am thinking, all this time, for the last few weeks, what has been the big story in gaming? Baldur's Gate 3, right? The fact that, oh my god, Baldur's Gate 3 came out and it proves that you don't need to be a AAA studio with an unlimited ginormous budget. You don't have to be a multiplayer game with a games as a service model. You could be a single player game from a studio that just knows what they're doing, and you could pump out quality games. And this Baldur's Gate 3 should put the whole gaming world on notice that RPGs need to be up to that standard from now on. And you even have game devs coming out saying, don't expect every game to be as good as Baldur's Gate 3. Well, guess what? That's exactly what's going on right now with Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 came out and is so good. that now all these other games that come out are going to have to live up to that standard. And if they don't, you're going to see that direct comparison of, you know, oh my God, head to head, Street Fighter 6 has so much and this is so not as good. And that's what's happened with this beta. Comparing beta to beta, Mortal Kombat 1 beta is bad compared to the Street Fighter 6 beta. On its own merits, it's probably kind of similar to what other betas they've done in the past. That's not good enough anymore. They have to up their game. You can't not be as good as your competition and expect to thrive in that landscape. You have to be up to snuff, and right now, they're not. The game's gameplay is inferior. The game's online connections are inferior. So, until this game comes out fully in September, I have no interest. Seriously, when it comes out in September, I'll be the first to play the story mode, see what other single-player content there is, try out various characters in training mode, and then go online and play with them. And like I said, the characters aren't necessarily the ones that I would like so much in the game right now. I probably like Scorpion, Smoke's in it, right? Reptile, if they have any of the cyborgs. I don't know if any of the cyborgs are in it or not, but like Cyrax, Sector, those were some of my favorites. I liked Garrus in the last one, so I'd probably play with Garrus in this one. So there's characters I'm thinking in my head, these are the ones I want to use, right? So maybe that'll make the game more fun for me once they're out. But for me right now, super disappointment. And man, am I glad I did not plan to play this all weekend. Because originally I was going to play it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But it just so happened that my Friday had to be my day off this week. So it made it limited to Saturday and Sunday. And after playing it Saturday, I don't even want to play it today. Seriously. So, the heftiest chonker... The heftiest chonker says, have you played the Injustice game? Says MK11, they've been copying that. It feels slow, clunky, awkward at times. MK9 and 10 had an overall better flow. At least the story will be good. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's too slow, too clunky, too bogged down. I don't care about your 4,000 animations. Just make the game play good. But it has to look pretty. Fuck that. Make the game play good and be fun to play first, and then be pretty second. But it doesn't seem like that's what they cared about. Okay, so anyway, that's why I'm not playing Mortal Kombat 1 today, alright? And it's just weird because, you know, for me, I had no plans on playing Street Fighter today. During the daytime, I was going to do the community night. This is probably the final community night tonight for a while. But now I was like, well, what am I going to do? Well, I already told you guys that the React show is tomorrow. DSP versus the Internet, my weekly clips React show. I already rescheduled it for Monday. If I put it back to Sunday, half the people won't be able to show up and watch it. That's not fair, right? So I purposefully didn't do that. Well, I could do GTA 5, but again, people weren't planning on being here for GTA 5, so you'd have more disappointed people. So really the only thing I can do in a moment's notice to fill in a gap is to basically do Street Fighter. So that's what we're doing today. And I apologize for those of you who, if you're in a situation where you didn't care about Street Fighter 6 today, wasn't planning on it today, but the good news is this is going to be good progress for Street Fighter 6 because we're trying to get my characters ranked up, and to have a whole extra 3-hour stream today will be really, really good to be able to make progress. With Honda, I'm hoping I can actually get him up high up into the diamond ranks. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I know for a fact a lot of you are going to leave. Like right now we have 483 people on the stream because they wanted to hear my opinion on Mortal Kombat 1. I guarantee you at least 200 people are going to leave. Seriously, I would guess we'll probably have 300 people here for Street Fighter today because I've been playing it for 3 months, and I wasn't planning on doing it today, and I apologize. I'm trying to put out content for you guys, and it is what it is. That sadly this beta is just not good, So I'm happy that you guys tuned in for the Mortal Kombat segment, but I'm sad that you're probably not going to care about more, Street Fighter. It is what it is. It's just it's a makeup stream essentially. The next 3 days the schedule will be as planned. Okay. He says it's bizarre to me that Netherrealm Studios is so committed to making the game clunky. He says Capcom and ArcSys keep making games with much more fun, new movement and defensive options and mechanics. Their fans deserve better. It's weird. Like when I played Mortal Kombat 11, I said, wow, this feels totally different. It's like they changed the game to play like Street Fighter. And I got, kind of more used to it. Now, I didn't play it as a competitive game. I didn't get into it. But I kind of acknowledged, wow, see, they realized how a little bit messed up their gameplay engine was and outdated, and they tried to improve it. And now they removed all those improvements. They're all gone. Oh, go back to being clunky again. Go back to being slow like molasses. What were you thinking? People don't want a slow fucking fighting game. And says, would you say that Street Fighter 6 is the Baldur's Gate of fighting games? Right now, it literally is. It has set the bar for what all of their fighting games must now live up to. And if we've got Mortal Kombat 1 coming out and it's inferior, and we got Tekken 8 coming out and it's inferior, people have the right to call it out. People should be calling it out. It shouldn't be the whole FGC sugarcoats it because they want you to buy these games, because they want to stream them and make money, because they're getting paid sponsorships on them. It's bullshit. They should be outright calling it out and saying, wait a minute. Worse connections, less features, less characters, slow molasses gameplay. What is going on here? We want more. We want better. We had it with Street Fighter. We want it from you too, Netherrealm. Instead, oh, it's the best game ever. Look, the cameos are so fun. Look at this crazy fucking combo I figured out. Oh, it's the best game. Oh, by the way, shower me with money on my stream. Enough with this bullshit. I'm just tired of it. They literally did the same thing in Street Fighter 5. 7 fucking years. How do you not realize this yet? That this is what they do. I don't get it. How people for 7 years were fooled. Then all of a sudden, all their stories change and they hate Street Fighter 5 now. Even though they told you they loved it for 7 years. But now you believe them on Mortal Kombat 1. Like, what on earth? This is, in all honesty, the only fighting game out now that can really hold a candle to Street Fighter 6 is Guilty Gear Strive. I know it's not your cup of tea, but the online for it is up there with Street Fighter 6. Again, I'll take your word for it, and I'm certainly not going to crap on it. I didn't play it. Guilty Gear franchise has just never really been my cup of tea. I even tried to play it in the 90s, or excuse me, in the early 2000s. A lot of my FGC friends were getting into Guilty Gear. So when we traveled to play Street Fighter, they would also enter Guilty Gear and play in those tournaments. And someone like Nerd Josh was fucking incredible at that game. Like, he was super duper good at Guilty Gear, and he was winning tournaments and stuff. So, I will give credit where credit is due, and I'll be honest, when I used to go to EVO and watch tournaments, I really enjoyed watching Guilty Gear. I did. Like, I understood the gameplay elements. I just knew I didn't have the skill execution to do them. But I would watch these complex combos and interrupts, and I was like, damn, this game has so much to it, and it was very fun to watch at a competitive level. But I'm just no good at it, and I never really liked it that much, so. Okay. By the way, as you can see, we got a bunch of idiots here. Let me just get rid of them now. Some dumb troll accounts spamming the chat, so let's get rid of it. There we go. Okay, did I get rid of these morons? Good. I received a $1 tip from an anonymous tipper saying, when did you first start to dislike the FGC? Has your disdain for them grown over the years? You know, when you say the FGC, it is a very generic term. And I should very much clarify that I never had an overall negative opinion of the FGC. It's various elements about the FGC. All right? So, when I was part of the FGC, or fighting game community, it was grassroots. What that means is there was no financing from companies, there was no sponsorships, there was no Capcom backing, there was no tournament circuits, none of that existed. It very much was, if you like competitive fighting games, you're supporting them with your own effort, your own money, you're doing it yourself. You're on your own. No one else is going to support you. You have to do it of your own efforts, your own volition. And to some extent, that definitely is to be applauded. People who were tournament organizers and stuff back in the day, they literally all lost money. There was no one making big bucks on these events back in the day. It was very much for the love of the game and to keep Street Fighter alive, as opposed to, oh, the giant money of this, right? What's happened is when Street Fighter 4 came out and became giant business, became a mainstream game, and everyone was buying it, and now all of a sudden, game pads, joysticks, peripherals, all these things became profitable. All these companies jumped on the sponsorship bandwagon. Now esports teams started to be created around fighting games, correct? And what ended up happening was it went from the love of the game to this. And this is what happens with everything. Happens with sports, happens with any entertainment medium, and now it's happened with fighting games, is that you have a whole community based around this. If this doesn't happen, they don't prosper. So you're going to get a game that comes out and it's inferior, you're still going to have people saying it's great. Why? Because they got paid to say it, or because they're somehow going to benefit from that game doing well. right? If Mortal Kombat 1 flops right now, people will still be playing Street Fighter 6 and other games, but that's a potential new game they can get big money pushing and playing and having content on and traveling to play. And they don't want that game to flop because that is a big money bag for them. You understand? So that never existed back in the day. Back in the day, there was brutal honesty in the fighting game community. If a game came out and sucked, it sucked. There was a few times when fighting games came out in the 2000s and people just shat the fuck out of them. For example, Capcom Fighting Jam. So Capcom had not made a major fighting game in many years. Like the last one was Capcom vs. SNK 2. All of a sudden, 2-3 years later, they came out with Capcom Fighting Jam. If that came out today, the entire FGC would say, oh, it's the best game ever. Look at this. The game's, oh my God, you got to play it. Look at it. It's amazing. Look at the fucking gameplay elements and everything. Because they all got paid to say it. They benefit by pushing it. You're going to watch their streams if they say it's good, right? Back then, you want to know what happened? The entire fighting game community took a big steamy dino dump on it and said, this game sucks shit. It's the same graphics stolen from other fighting games. The gameplay elements are shitty and broken. It plays like crap. No one's going to play this outside of one major tournament because there was a major tournament in Japan and there were regional qualifiers for it. So I remember going to Texas. And in the Texas tournament, I forget which one it was, Texas Showdown probably, they had qualifiers to go to Japan and play this tournament as an American qualifier. And so I went and I played in it, and I lost. I was actually very close to qualifying, but I didn't qualify. I think Justin did it, Justin Wong, and a few others. But that's what I mean. Like back then, that was it. You know, that was one tournament for it. After that, everyone was like, that game doesn't exist. No one even acknowledges Capcom Fighting Jam anymore. They act like it never existed. Why? Because back then people were honest. Today, they'd fucking be playing it like crazy. Oh, yeah, it's great. Come on, everyone, come to my stream and play Capcom Fighting Jam. By the way, sponsored by this team, sponsored by Capcom, sponsored by this peripheral, sponsored. Make money. That's what I don't like about the modern FGC. There's no honesty. Where the fuck's the honesty? Why did the entire FGC lie to people about Street Fighter V for 7 years? I was the only fucking person who came out at launch that this game is terrible. Here's all the fucking reasons why. And everyone, oh no, don't listen to him. It's great. 7 years later, everyone's tune changed. Everything I said was correct. It took 7 years though. 7 years and a much better game to come out to replace it. So now they can be honest. So why? That's what I hate about the modern FGC. That's why I have resentment towards it. But listen, they could sit there and they could make fun of me all they want. They can say, Darkseid feels no good at fighting games. He's a nobody. He's a has-been. He's a never was. I don't give two fucks about any of that. I don't. What I care about is them being disingenuous to their own fan bases to make money. That's what pisses me off. Okay. Anyway, and by the way, I was the same way back in the day. When I was part of the FGC in the 2000s, I was the guy who was outspoken. I was always the one who said what no one else would say. And even though a lot of people always disliked me in the community because of it, I was the one who would go out and say what needed to be said and be honest. And a lot of people don't like brutal honesty. They can't take it. A lot of people hated me, right? Okay. Jade, what's going on? He says he has a jury shirt on today. Mortal Kombat 1 was slow. I play Mortal Kombat 1 story in Towers, but not online, because you love Mortal Kombat. I'm of the same. Like, I feel like the gameplay was not that good. You know? I don't know if the entire game will be like that when it comes out, but I'm definitely interested in more different characters than what was in that beta. I'm definitely playing the story when it comes out, for sure, and I hope that there's better offline content than just story. I do hope there's another mode that'll be better than that, because sadly, no crypt really actually makes me worried. If they remove the crypt, then what are you replacing it with? You can't just remove a significant amount of content that you always had in the last 3 games and expect that you could charge the same amount. So let's see what happens, okay? Thank you, Brownie. Brownie says your dedication to fighting games is impressive, and I hope you get Master for Hunt. Thank you. That's very nice of you. What's going on, Airhead? How you doing? Wade says Street Fighter 6 really raised the bar. Completely agree. Oh, let's see here. Retro Parasite did a super chat. He says there's been a tweet claiming the campaign is going to be 6 to 8 hours long. That's all right. That's pretty much on par. At least it's not 5. I think it was MK10 that had the shortest campaign. It was only like 5 hours, and I was kind of upset about that. I would like to do 2 to 3 streams of the story if possible. I think that'd be really nice, So hopefully that's true. Because that would be a good a few solid days of playing Mortal Kombat 1 before we even worry about the online play. So that's good. Someone says, you're not wrong about esports corrupting the FGC. Many said the same thing, but I hate how certain people will pretend you're the only one saying this to be just to be contrarian. Sad. See, and there's the thing. I only know from my own perspective. Perhaps there are other people saying stuff similar to me, but everyone pretends like I'm the only one and my opinion is completely invalid, right? No, dude, it's bullshit. You're right. Anything Darkside Phil says is invalid. Even if it's right, it's invalid, right? Random Ron says, how is it Capcom's doing more for Street Fighter 6 than Netherrealm is for Mortal Kombat 1? I remember when it was the opposite. It seems to me with Capcom, right? They have focuses that change over time. So, for example, Capcom's focus in the 90s for a long time was fighting games. Then they gave up on that and they started focusing on Resident Evil and Devil May Cry. And then Mega Man, but then they dropped Mega Man. Then they went on to other things. And they rotate between all their franchises, right? So now it seems like they're going back to a heavy fighting game focus with Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is doing well, and they're hoping it's going to grow even more. And if it does, they'll probably put more focus into fighting games. Maybe you'll see a few other spin-off fighters come out, right? We'll see. That's how they are, kind of. With NetherRealm, all they do are fighting games. So, you know, I hate to say it, but I feel like this will be the first time in a decade that NetherRealm can't just do the status quo and expect to do as well as they always have. They have to go above and beyond because Street Fighter 6 did. You see? They didn't have to do that the entire time Street Fighter 5 was out. They didn't have to even really try that hard because Street Fighter 5 was so inferior. But now they have a superior game out there and they have to do their best to compete, and they really don't seem to be doing that.
Typically helps me more than anything.